Going to go do a time check for when we started recording here. It'll be relevant in a minute. It's 9:15 in the morning. Thanks so much for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart of Welcome Home Financial Partners. You can find out more about them, schedule a time to speak with them, find out more about the First Friday events as well. WelcomeHomeFP.com. We've made it real easy for you. Right there in the podcast description, there's a link, takes you right there, as well as all their social media. Just click on that, take you right where you need to be. My name is Chris Swan, and I'm pleased to be joined by Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. You know, I'm on my first cup of coffee of the day. Like I said, as we're recording now, it is 9:15 in the morning, and the reason I bring that up is because people hit a wall at work. According to a recent poll, usually happens around 3 p.m., so we're not there. We're very much engaged. We're not hitting that wall just yet, I don't think. But that wall comes thanks to boredom, a lack of energy, and caffeine wearing off. It lasts about half an hour. In a similar way, people kind of hit a wall when it comes to retirement. For newly retired, that slump, when they realize, you know, it wasn't really everything that they expected. Do you prepare your clients for different stages of retirement and managing expectations like that?
Yeah, absolutely we do. And it's important because I should say this, I think one of three of us might have already hit the wall this morning after 2 cups of coffee. But when you take a look at retirement, there are different stages, and you want to make sure you don't hit that wall. Pre-retirement is one of the biggest concerns that we see right now because people aren't prepared for retirement. And it's easier while you're working to make some changes, some improvements, some tweaks to your plan, if you have a plan, and make sure that you retire comfortably the way that you want to, right? But a lot of things come into that. And a lot of people haven't focused in on, you know, what they're going to have to do for healthcare if they retire early, because most people now want to retire. Ralph, don't laugh at this, but a lot of people want to retire in their 50s, right? So if you want to retire in your 50s, what does health insurance look like for you? You know, are you going to be prepared for that? There's a lot of things there. We talk about the retirement red zone a lot, and that's what pre-retirement is. If you're 5 years out from retirement, maybe even 10 years out from retirement, what are the things that we can do now to make sure that you can retire the way that you like?
And that's really a sweet spot for most people. They need to understand if they haven't done everything they need to have done by now, it's a good time to get things corrected so you can have that retirement you've always dreamed of. Mm-hmm. You've got enough time to make corrections in your plan if you have a plan. And that's the biggest thing that we do see. Most people don't understand what that plan is. They just know they want to retire. But guess what? The number one thing that most people need to be aware of is if you don't have a plan, you do, because it is a plan to fail.
I think it starts with the conversation. What a client wants from us is for us to be open and honest and transparent with it. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we need the client to be, you know, open with us. If you have questions, if you have concerns, ask them. Ask your financial professional. See what type of answers you get. What I need to know when I'm working with someone to help them retire is what are their goals, and then how can I help them achieve those goals that they have right now at age 60 when they plan to retire at 65. Well, guess what? We're going to work on that. We're going to create that. We're hopefully going to achieve that for you and help you retire at 65. But I also have to be aware that you're going to come back into our office, sit down with us at 67, and something will have changed. Maybe you got disenchanted. Maybe it's not the retirement you thought. Maybe your grandkids moved to Florida and now you want to be closer to your grandkids. We have to have the flexibility within the plan to be there for all stages of retirement, including when you hit a wall and it's not what you thought it was going to be.
And sometimes the wall is something you're not in control of that, just like health. Just had a client the other day that came in and we were fixing to do business, and the week before he had a stroke.
Oh, gosh.
He wasn't planning on having that, so we kind of put things off to the side until we kind of figure out what's going on. But the biggest thing to know is there are going to be things that pop up in your life that you weren't planning on. If we do have a recession or something like that, and your oldest kids adult kids might have lost their job, might have lost their house like they did in 2005. They might have to move back to you. Most people don't plan for that because that is something that we're never thought would happen. But guess what? Things like that does happen.
Yeah, and once we get to retire and we're able to fully retire, they call it the honeymoon phase. You want your honeymoon phase to last for your entire retirement, right? Mm-hmm. My life is a honeymoon all the time. I'm just seeing if my wife's listening to this program.
Oh, I thought you were talking about working with us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too. That too. The most important thing first. But you got to have stability in retirement, right? So that's what we focus in on, is making sure once you retire, you don't have any worries anymore. Things will come up day in and day out. Things change constantly, but we want to make sure that you've got the confidence and the stability to retire the way that you like.
But I would also say a lot of clients will come in and talk to us, and maybe y'all agree with me. They'll say, I don't understand how I had to do all these things while I was working. I had time to do it. I can hardly have time to do the things I need to get done today, and I'm retired. Have you heard that before?
I hear that every day from my mother. So she is just so busy reading books that she can't do the gardening she wants to do. So, but you are right. People find new passions. People find new hobbies. People have all sorts of things that come up, and the retirement plan, the dollars and cents of it, are just fuel for the car, fuel for the vehicle to make it move forward. And it's our job to make sure that we keep that tank as full as possible, and you get to drive as fast as you want to drive.
Because here's the truth of it, is that life does change constantly. And when it changes, it is rarely inexpensive. Not to say that they're all negative. I mean, obviously there are those things, health emergencies, children unexpectedly or perhaps expectedly moving back into the household. But there could be, positive things. The birth of a grandchild, suddenly wanting to travel more, developing a new hobby. Aside from bird watching, I don't know many hobbies that are inexpensive. And so being able to have a plan that changes with you. I was going to use the analogy of the final approach as you get ready to enter into retirement. The flight attendants and the cabin crew on airplanes, they always do that final check to make sure everything is going to be okay. But I don't like the word final here because it makes it sound like the end. That is not what retirement is. It's the start of not even one chapter, multiple chapters. And so having a plan that can go with you in there and letting a team like, Welcome Home Financial Partners help you write those chapters along with you, not for you. Again, they're gonna find the plan that's gonna work best for you and together and help create that and make sure that whatever comes down the line, you can reevaluate, reassess. That is where that roadmap comes back into play. If there is a change, that sets you off course. How do we get back on track? How do we get to where we want to be? Well, you have to have the roadmap to begin with. You go to welcomehomefp.com. That is the website. Schedule a time and begin that process. Again, welcomehomefp.com. We've made it real easy for you. It's right there in the podcast description. Let's actually turn our eyes to the market really quick. We have talked a lot about the Magnificent Seven stocks and how they've held up the stock market over the past year. This year has seen a little bit of a reversal, though. Only 3 of the Magnificent Seven, Amazon, Meta, and NVIDIA, are doing well. But Jack Otter tells Barron it's the other stocks outside of the 7, quite frankly, they're catching up.
The good news is that we've seen a broadening in the stock market. So it's not just the Mag 7, which actually are not doing so well, but I think 80% of stocks, 75% of stocks are above their 200 days. So that's a good move.
So we talked earlier about people having their money on the sidelines in cash. If people have been holding back from re-entering the market, is now a good time to look at that?
Well, I think the important thing for most people to understand is it's not about timing the market, right? So if you're trying to say, okay, I want to get it to a certain point, whether it's a stock or an index or the overall market, and before you decide to get in, we've always been told that you want to buy low and you want to sell high. Mm-hmm. But most investors do the opposite, right? They buy high and they sell low. I tell people most of the times when you've heard of the next hot stock, it's already too late, right? So you've got to make sure that whatever money you put into the market, you've got to be patient. You're going to see some ups, you're going to see some downs. The goal is to have more ups than downs, but there's never, in my opinion, there's never really any specific time on when you want to get in or get out. It's all about when you want to what you want to accomplish with your money, which is the most important thing.
The biggest issue that I saw with the Magnificent Seven run was it was so publicized. It was so, out there everywhere that it took away from one of the key conversations that I have with my clients about, or our clients about, retirement planning, and that's diversification. When you were so focused in on, should I get into this, should I get into that, and you have 4 or 5 options, well, guess what? You're not diversified, and if they do begin to underperform, you are going to be hosed. Is it a good time to get into the market? Is it a good time to invest? Absolutely, it's a good time. Is it a good time to have the diversification conversation? Absolutely, it is. And that's not just diversification amongst specific holdings. It's different asset classes. It's different types of holdings that are very, very important.
For most people, they need to understand it's the timing and stage of their life as to when they need to enter. If you're young, you need to be putting money into your 401k, throwing as much as you can afford to go in there. Now, as you get closer to retirement, then you need to still be in the market, but you need to kind of look at the amount of risk that you're taking with your money, because guess what? Whatever size that pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow that you've been saving for may not be there when you retire, in case you're taking too much risk and the market goes down. So it really depends on, as you get closer to retirement, let's take a look at how much you have in the market. Where is it located? Is it going to allow you to do the things that you want to do and still be there down the road?
I mean, that's a great point. A lot of it comes down to the seasons of life, right? If we're looking at it from like a farming analogy, there's a planting and a growing season, but then there's a harvest season as well. I mean, nobody ever just put a bunch of crops in the ground and let them grow as big as possible and said, look at those great crops, I'm just going to let them sit there and wilt. At some point, you have to switch over to harvesting, which for this analogy, it becomes, de-risking the portfolio, getting it in a position, getting your assets in a position where you can begin to distribute from them and enjoy the fruits of all of your labor of saving, investing, and now you're going to live the retirement you want to live because you have these assets that are generating income for you.
And it's not to say that you can't have money, tied into the market. You can't swing for the fences for a certain portion of your retirement account or your money, having that play money. I've heard it labeled as casino money. Basically, what's the amount that if you went home to your spouse and you told them, oh, I lost this much at the blackjack table or whatever, that's fine, that's okay. Versus, I lost this much and well, quite frankly, now I can't come home because that is the end of it. You don't want to see your 401ks turn into 201ks, especially as you get closer and closer to, towards retirement, or certainly while you're in retirement. So you want to make sure that, yes, you have that diversification, and it's not necessarily about having 6-7 mutual funds. It's about finding different asset classes, as you guys pointed out, and taking some of the risk off of your retirement account, knowing, yes, it is one thing to know buy low, sell high, but it is another thing to actually be able to operate that, execute that, look at how people reacted in 2020, where they were doing, quite frankly, the opposite. And if you've got friends or perhaps even yourself, you said, yeah, you know what, I'm going to wait until, for example, this isn't a recommendation, but I'm going to wait until, Amazon takes a dip before I start buying. Well, what's going to happen when it takes a dip? I'm not going to buy now. It's losing money. So being able to shift that mindset, taking the emotions out of it, is where having financial professionals on your side really helps to guide you through that process. That is what the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners does, being able to help get you to, through, and beyond retirement. And it all starts with reaching out. Again, welcomehomefp.com is the website. Click the link right there in the podcast description. Find out more about the guys, find out more about the First Friday events, how to attend those, and schedule a time to speak with them. Again, welcomehomefp.com. Want to thank you, as we always do, for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart. It is now 9:30. We have not hit that slump. We don't plan on hitting that slump anytime soon. Want to thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great day ahead of you. Gentlemen, hope you have a great day as well. And as we wrap up, want to leave you with the final word.
Thanks, Chris. Go grab yourself another cup of coffee.
Oh,
we don't need that slump. Yeah. So we want to thank everybody for listening, but we talked about the different stages of retirement that most folks don't really pay attention to. We've also talked about a few things with the stock market and different holdings. Scott brought up diversification. I think a second opinion for most people's retirement portfolio is needed. If that sounds like something you're interested in, we'd love the opportunity to chat with you in the office, so give us a call. Thanks for listening.
All content is for information purposes only. It is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decision, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication or future results. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Welcome Home Financial Partners and Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC. The information contained in this material has been derived from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness and does not purport to a complete analysis of the materials discussed. All information and ideas should be discussed in detail with your individual advisor prior to the implementation. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstance. Advisor services are offered by Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Virginia. Being registered as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Insurance products and services are offered through WPI Holding, Virginia Insurance License Number 138509, an affiliated company. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any resident of any state other than the state of Virginia or where otherwise legally permitted. Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, and Welcome Home Financial Partners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.